I met Theris before year 2000. She was actually my ex-girlfriend friend, but we began close when I broke up with my ex, and she's doing fine at first. Helpful, supporting me and trusting me. She also helped me out to move things to my house from my parents' house on my last days at my parents' house. But she kinda had problem to manage herself. She could wait for 5 hours in the middle of the night outside the gate, in front of my parents' house, and sometimes she was so hysterical with no reason at all. So my ex once told me that I was that Theris was her best friend, but Theris was saying I'm not her best friend, And I sense a competitive side on her that have been misplaced. And she was like on and off, sometimes it's her, sometimes it's not. And I remember once she calls me from her office, like she had a big problem, and I was asking her to calm herself down, but she seems didn't listen, and we had an argument, and she seems didn't listen, and we had an argument, and she hung up the phone, and I was a bit in a temper, and I was calling her back, and I was like being set up, because it was her friend that answered the phone, and then when she calls me back, like there was nothing happened, And once I had a meeting with a friend of mine. He's a painter. His name was Prisade. We're going to have a discussion about paintings. She calls like in a panic situation, and I tell her that I was on a discussion with a friend, and she tells me things like, as I can handle this myself. Sorry to bother you, And she hung up. She always do such things, it makes me feel like I'm guilty, and I was so worried at that time, so I canceled the discussion, and I went home in a hurry, tried to reach her on the phone again, and she's answered like there's nothing happened before. And once she's on a taxi, and she calls me while I began to eat my lunch, And in 5 minutes, she came to my place. She's telling me that she was on her way to the mall to meet her friends, and she asked me to accompany her in the taxi. So, but I said I couldn't because I haven't finished my lunch, And she said, leave your lunch, drop me off with the taxi, and then you can finish your lunch. And I tell her to wait, but she wouldn't wait. And she went outside saying things like it's okay if you don't care for me, something like that. And I was throwing my lunch away, and the taxi driver was looking at me like I was the big problem, And and one day she came to my place, in Sawangan, and she told me that she had problem, but she didn't explain it. She just telling me that it was so complicated, and okay, I had a room. I had 3 bedroom, and I could lend her one. So yeah, she moved in, and there were elder at the neighborhood that keep asking about her, and you gotta marry her, he said, and in 6 months we get married.